Alf, I told you I don't really want to talk about this, but whatever. Frank, stop laughing. Guys, today we're going to talk about my biggest loss ever, minus $900 on a single card. This one is an absolute stinger. Before I get started, big thanks to our Tuesday shoutouts, justcollect.com, Leighton Sheldon, and the gang, buying collections for decades. If you have a collection that you're looking to sell and you want an appraisal ASAP, Leighton Sheldon and the justcollect.com crew are happy to help. I will put a link down in the video description as well as in the pinned comments to get your appraisal. Are you looking to upgrade your sports card collection or rip some of the hottest NFL, NBA, or MLB products? Don't miss out. Make sure to check out Drip Shop Live, the go-to live shopping platform, trusted sellers, and a die-hard community of collectors. Check this out. With my code down below, you'll get up to $250 in credit to use immediately on their app with no minimum purchase. So make sure to check out Drip Shop Live. Wooten Sports Cards on Whatnot. He has just about, or maybe he did, hit 11,000 followers on Whatnot. Pretty much sells out every single week. 5-star reviews. You got to check out Wooten Sports Cards on the Whatnot machine. And last but certainly not least, we've got J Duck and Cards on IG for all of the vintage and modern non-sports entertainment cards. Guys, this stuff is on the absolute rise. Entertainment cards, pop culture cards. People are looking for cool stuff outside of just sports, and Jay he's got all of that stuff. So make sure to check out his IG account. He buys, sells, trades. Reach out to him with questions, and he sets up at shows with all this cool stuff as well. So if you're looking at vintage Disney, vintage entertainment cards as a whole, Jay is your guy. All right, I think it's sometimes important to talk about some of the more humbling experiences because the hobby is full of those, especially if you're buying, selling, trading. A lot of speculation going on, speculating on this player or that player, this set or that card. And I think it's good sometimes to talk about losses, this one being my biggest loss and what I might have taken away from it. And we'll just kind of talk through it. Let me know in the comment section down below if you've had maybe something similar happen and ways that you were able to deal with it and kind of bounce back and stuff that you took away and change your buying behavior maybe out of. So the card in question here is a card that I bought going back to the Dallas Card Show. I believe this was the first, maybe it was the first or second one, coming off of the pandemic, kind of everything opening up in May of 2021. There was a lot of content creators that went out to this show, and this was the first major card show that I had ever been to. This was prior to me ever going to a national, and a big reason why this particular Dallas Card Show is so busy, especially with content creators, is we still had not had the thumbs up, the green light from the folks at the National that show was still going to happen. It was still up in the air. It was in Chicago there in 2021, and the state of Illinois wasn't sure if they were going to allow big crowds and that sort of thing. So me and a lot of others were like, all right, well, this Dallas show, it might be the only opportunity for us to kind of get out to a big show, or at least the next available one if there's not going to be a national card show. And it was the first time I ever met Flipping Steve in person. Brad, the comeback card investor.
So let's get started.
Rest in peace, Brad, for content. For content, he's still with us. He's still with us, just no longer in the sports card space. But the first time I met a lot of content creators, had an absolute blast. It was really fun at that show in Dallas. And I was feeling it, probably feeling it a little bit too much, because I purchased a 2015 Select Courtside Silver Devin Booker rookie card in a PSA 9. So what was the thought process here for me? I'll kind of just walk us through here. So if we look at the Suns in general, the Suns as a team, their 2021 season, they were, I believe, second to the Jazz in the Western Conference. And then in the next season, 2021, 2022, they were first. This was a young team kind of on the rise. To me, it looked like this could be kind of the breakout for Devin Booker and some of those guys, but Devin Booker being the main young star on that team and him kind of ascending. Because again, he's a rookie in 2015, so this is 5-6 years into the career. This is kind of where it starts getting going for guys. Michael Jordan won his first title, 6-7 years into his career. That was his first title, and then he, of course, just ran him off. But, so I was looking at this as, all right, this could be the time. And the card, I bought it at $1,200, $1,200 at the Dallas Card Show. And I was looking at comps at that time for a PSA 10 of this card. And again, a low population card. This is the courtside version, so it's kind of like the field level for football. This is the most rare version, and it was also the silver parallel prism of it. So the pop count for this card, very, very low in 2021. And of course, too, coming off the back, grading is slowed down. You know, you're not getting grades out as fast. But even still, this is not a high population card. You know, going back to 2015, another part of my thinking was, this is 2015 basketball, same kind of a draw that you have with Jokic collectors, with the Joker. You know, it's going back to 2015 where there was not as many parallels, print runs were lower. This is kind of a cold time for the most part in the hobby. I'm not saying completely cold, but if we're talking about modern basketball cards and in the same fashion as modern football cards going back to 2015, nowhere near as much interest at that time. And so print runs lower, the expected print runs being lower in 2015, nowhere near as many parallels or the one-of-ones and all that stuff. It's just all less, going back in time. So I was thinking, like, if I compare that to a 2019 rookie, like a Zion Ja back then, that was also an option. Those were selling like crazy. Just far less of that stuff being available. And this is a top flight player in the league. Still, Devin Booker's still a great player in the league, obviously. It just didn't pan out the way that it could have, I suppose, for his career. So I was thinking, this is also going back in time to where player performance actually mattered for prices. This is going back to 2021 where a guy rattles off 50 points, card prices move. Now you win championships and you still can't get prices to move, or the price is already baked in. You have huge spec money. And that was part of what I learned there, and part of what I underestimated was the amount of spec money. In May of 2021, when you're in it, when you're in the middle of it, very difficult to see. Hindsight is always 2020. It's easy to say, prices are high. Even in 2021, prices on a lot of stuff were high, all-time highs for certain things. So you could see that, but the part that you couldn't see is no more upward trajectory, also knowing when they will come down and also how much they will come down. It's very, very difficult in the collectibles space to kind of just figure out there's money that's moved into certain segments and how and when is that going to change. And so, I don't beat myself up too much because, again, I was going for a player that I felt was already a proven commodity in the league, and it was just a matter of like, okay, he's just got to get to that next step, kind of like how Giannis did, over the last couple of years. Giannis won a title and got over the hump. Jason Tatum plays on a dominant Celtics team. The expectation is he gets up and wins a title. Maybe he can win a couple of titles, but if he never wins that title, and that's kind of what happened here with Booker, going back a couple of years, is still hasn't won that title. And this card now is a $300 card. That's what I sold it for. I ended up selling it for $350, $900 less. So yes, again, going back to this time, we had seen such huge movement up from 2020 to this time, really May 2021. If we're looking at really kind of the card boom, it was a fairly short period of time where prices went anabolic. We're talking about the fall of 2019 is when Luka and Mahomes started to really move, in fall of 2019. And really, if we go back to that Dallas Card Show in May of 2021, those are really peak pricing. March, April, May 2021 is peak, and then you start seeing it move downward for most cards. Again, if you got ultra rare stuff, maybe not the case, but that's where you really started to see it kind of moving down slowly and then kind of speeding up, and you saw kind of just card prices moving downward. Now, some might say, well, oh man, you should have put that money into a vintage card. And sure, that could be, depending on the vintage card, it could have made sense. But even a lot of vintage cards, I have vintage cards that I bought in 2021 that are down. Now, they're not down as much as modern players, but they're still down. A good example of this is I bought a Johnny Unitas rookie card in a 4 going back. And I didn't vastly overpay, but if I look back now, where is it now compared to what I bought it for? It's a couple $100 less than what I bought it for, and it was strictly just a timing thing. The Unitas rookie card that's a great vintage football card. Most would say like that's a fairly safe card for the most part, just in terms of price stability. But it was just the timing. If I could go back, I wouldn't have bought much of anything in 2021. Maybe little pockets of stuff, but the broad kind of card market was just at all-time highs for a lot of cards, hadn't corrected yet. And so, of course, if you only sold in 2021 and bought absolutely nothing, then you probably did pretty well. But again, it's not knowing kind of how long that boom burst was going to last. That's always the tricky part. You know, if the boom burst or had just held, even if it hadn't sunk the way that it did, if it had held for another year, for another couple of years, you know, then we'd probably be having different conversations. Maybe it takes longer to be correcting, but if it had still remained hot for 3 years instead of 18 months, it could have possibly changed the trajectory, but we just don't know. And I think that kind of, again, it plays into, you never know what tomorrow is going to hold. You never know. I remember going back to, you know, March of 2020, a lot of people were dumping cards at that point. A lot of people were selling a lot of cards because, you know, we heard there's going to be a shutdown. You know, everyone's going to be at home. Everyone's going to be out of a job. You know, I mean, like it was kind of panic time for what, about 6 weeks, maybe about a month. I think it was like beginning of March to maybe like beginning of April. There was a 4 or 5 week span where there's a lot of cards being sold just to get out of stuff. Because people were concerned about what was to come, and who would have really known? Again, nobody could have foreseen kind of that perfect storm of events where you have people at home, stimulus money, no sports. All there was a Jordan documentary. You know, I mean, like it was just kind of a wacky time. Tiger King, you know, was #1 on Netflix, which frankly, Tiger King probably would have been #1 if it was released today, going even compared to the pandemic where people had to be home. That was just a fantastically entertaining show. All right, my friends. So we go back in time. We talk about a little bit of the worst buy. Again, going back to 2021, a lot of cards were overpriced. And that is kind of the lesson of just being careful of if you know, seeing spikes and not buying into spikes. And I think what can we take from that today? You see, you know, FOMO, short-term bursts, and it probably for most things, what we've seen is just proven that those prices will correct. They will come back down. But at the same time, you know, I can't blame people for FOMOing into new card releases, new products. There's excitement around this, you know, so part of the rush of the hobby for a lot of people is the excitement of new products, whether you're buying a box or buying a single that just hit the market or you're buying into a break. It's that new product rush and the chase for those hits or those players that you're excited about. So I get all of that. You know, it's also like, you don't want to waste money, but at the same time, if that's how you're also getting your fun and you're getting a rush, then buying into those new products and stuff, that might be the way to go. I actually thought I was being a little bit more safe with a card like this because I was buying into a proven player that I thought was just right there on the cusp of doing great things, and it just didn't happen. And then on top of it, the timing just didn't work out as I was buying in 2021, probably the most expensive year to buy cards. So that's it, guys. That is where we are at today. That's all I've got. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope that you have an amazing day ahead. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.